I'm Anna.
And I'm Ben.
We're AutoSave. Welcome to our channel.
Today we're watching Mushoku Tensei. Still don't know if I'm saying it right. Season 1, episode 5. Last episode. Last episode was a big one. You know? We got a lot of things happening. We got 2 new siblings. We got our dad cheating on our mom. That was sweet. That was fun to watch.
We really did air out Paul's dirty laundry and his history book of scumminess.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was all out in the open last episode.
Yeah, Lilia seduced Paul by leaving her door slightly ajar.
Mm-hmm.
Period.
Yes.
But regardless, going forward, we have a new character. I believe her name is pronounced Ghislaine, and she is from Paul's past. And she is now taking us as in Rudy, her wing to train or work to build up an amount of tuition, presumably, to be able to send Rudy and Sylphie off to school.
While still not knowing if that's even something remotely that Sylphie would want.
Yep. Facts. I don't know. I'm kind of excited that we're seeing more of the world here.
Yes, I'm so excited to, it was really huge once Rudy left his house and left his front yard.
Yeah.
And he was able to go out, and once he went out, who did he meet? Sylphie. And now he has this friendship and this person that he wants to stay around and protect and, raise money for.
Yeah.
And now he's about to probably leave the town and go, maybe we're going to see monsters, and I'm really excited to see more creatures that are created into this world.
I would like to see how we, level up or compare to other creatures in this world, monsters, other villains, and then how we would compare to Ghislaine. Are we on the same page? Mm-hmm. Is Ghislaine more of a sword user, and that means we're gonna get sword training? I don't know.
Are the beginner level monsters some slimes, and we'll get to see a health bar or something?
Gotta grind a little bit, level up. I don't know. I'm excited though. I'm enjoying the show so far. It's interesting. Ready?
Yeah.
Sweet. Can't read.
Please fill us in.
Okay, alright.
A magic tutor?
Okay, her family's bodyguard. Real? Okay. For the next 5 years?
Oh, when he said you wouldn't be able to see Sylphie. He's for...
God damn.
It probably is healthy for Sylphie.
I like her.
I do too. Oh, he can't even write letters.
I hope this was explained to Sylphie in a way that wasn't, oh yeah, Rudy just abandoned me. Yeah. Okay. Kinda looks like Oikawa. Proper etiquette. Oh? Paul's cousin.
Are they anything alike? He might have married into it.
Is she a difficult one to train?
No, it's just the red hair.
Like everyone's just like watching.
年は関係ないと思いますけど。わかるわけ。でもお嬢様は僕ができることができないわけです。生意気よ。私を誰だと思ってるの？あのくせに生意気だからよ。これで人に殴られる痛みがわかりました。
Oh my god!
She's gonna kill you.
She's following him.
Any girls like that in your dating sims? How do you deal with it? Yeah, can't meet violence with violence.
一芝居打ってみてはどうでしょう。わかりました。ではお願いしたいのですが。
Why did we zoom in on that man?
I don't know. Maybe he's protective?
Or he is actually a villain. And Rudy's gonna have to save her. He's gonna kidnap her.
It's interesting that when he closed his eyes, he heard the rain in the car from his previous life. Uh-oh.
Is this a part of the play?
I wonder if they're actually kidnapped. Yeah.
He was gonna use... That guy was evil.
Look at him winking in the background. Oh! Heal her. Oh my god! It seems like he can only do healing magic if he can say it, you know, which is interesting for him. So badass, dude. Love that he peeks back. They're gone.
Definitely. It probably hasn't even been realized by anyone that they're gone. It's still the middle of the night. She's rich though.
Mm. Rudy's such a fucking shit, and I love it. Like,
oh, that was such a smart play of words right there.
It's quiet. Too quiet. I think you're right. So cool. No shouting? Music's great.
Play them. Play them.
This music's great. That's
Drawing
awesome.
attention to them.
It's fireworks.
And it's beautiful. Ghislaine?
I think so. This whole thing could be a test, no?
They could have just really...
Oh, cool shot! Smoke bombs.
It might be one of those double agent situations.
Oh! Oh, so cool. Just lane. Sword throwing techniques. Oh!
Lane!
Oh!
Shattered it.
Whoa!
She's my favorite character.
That was so
in the
cool.
show.
Look at her
Look
sword.
at her sword.
Oh my god. Sound design's so good.
Oof, facing the reality of death.
Yes, I'm so glad it's her.
Oh! Not even lady. That must be a true honor coming from her.
So complex. Okay, that was Mushoku Tensei Season 1, Episode 5. That was my favorite episode yet.
I totally agree. I mean, honestly, I think they just introduced two characters that are probably going to be my favorite characters as long as they exist more heavily in the story, you know, from here on. I loved it.
Could totally be off base here and wrong. Dere could be a shortening for tsundere, right? For the attitude of that.
I think so.
Okay. That I don't have too much knowledge when it comes to Japanese, you know.
Yeah.
I know a little bit, like this much out of like this entire room, but that's my best guess. It would kind of fit from what I understand.
It would fit from what we believe that word to mean in terms of like a personality of
The
a
trope,
character,
yeah.
a trope. I could see that being. I just love that he accidentally said it out loud.
Dude,
too. It's so funny.
This was like, I was really enjoying this series, like for what it is. I'm really enjoying it now. This is a really good episode.
There's so many intentional things that are happening in this show. I think like most everything feels like very purposeful and intentional, which is some of my favorite story writing is when and like obviously storyboarding in this case of it being, you know, animated. And when they did the pan up on the guy's face right before, you know, the act started and we heard the idea of this act, immediately got the feeling of someone taking advantage of this act in order to actually kidnap for ransom.
You know what, though? The way they played it, I think, I'm going to give this, I typically don't do this. I'm going to overestimate the credit I give this show because, like, so far, at least to me, it is proven that it deserves it in just this episode alone. I think the way that they zoomed in, they knew exactly what they were doing. Because my first instinct was, okay, villain. But then I was like, that's too obvious. They're not going to do that.
So then you're doing a bunch of mental gymnastics going back and forth in your head. And then I was thinking, oh, is it that it was an act, but then there were thieves that heard about it, but it's still an act to catch the thieves. And then it was like all layers.
So like my best guess like halfway through, I was like, okay, this is Philip. We don't know too much about Philip yet. He is like, okay, if this person is really good enough to teach my daughter, then we're gonna put them in a really fucked up situation.
Maybe it could have been his idea in order to force Rudius to prove himself even more.
They could have taken it a lot of routes, and I think that was very intentionally played up.
Especially when you have this dynamic of like kids versus adults.
Yeah.
Like there's totally more credence to the idea that a plan that a child came up with could be influenced or changed by the adults in the room who might think they need to come up, maybe like enhance the plan a little bit, change it.
What you were touching on, I'm going to take another step further. The attention to detail in every aspect of this show so far, whether it's writing, storyboarding, animation, anything, is just all like music, a sound design, off the charts, like next level. Like Rudy in the background of scenes winking because he thinks that it's like part of the plan, to when you could hear the ringing, it was so good. And I'm pretty sure that even when they threw down Eris there in the jail cell, that you could see some of her strands of hair being pulled out of her head.
The sound design, honestly, there were so many things from the ringing to the sound of the blood starting to kind of like, seep underneath him.
Yeah.
And there was just so many different things that are like, wow, okay, they're really thinking of everything in order to create somewhat of an immersion experience.
I think that's a great way to put it. I think like in every category they're trying to hit like immersion 10.
Like we talk about this with some other shows that we love, where the things that they do on all fronts in order to make you feel like you're almost there, it almost feels like the only sense that isn't being like helped out is taste, but that's obviously not something that's been invented yet.
40.
Or maybe smell too. I guess both of those.
I do think it's really interesting that 5 episodes in, like this episode almost like took everything. I was like, I wonder if this show is ever going to like go above in some of these aspects, like above and beyond. And they kind of just nailed them here.
What do you think narratively about the fact that we have now, the reason we have left home is different than what we previously had guessed it would have been? And what do you think about this new narrative shift of like, we literally are not coming back for years?
I no longer think it's going to be a time skip. And if it is, then it's going to be an interesting one at that.
It seems like this might be the story that is supposed to be told. This current cast of characters that we are meeting in this episode.
I agree with you. I wonder where we're going to go and if we're going to stay here for the rest of the season, if what. Because part of me could imagine going a whole other protect Eris route going forward, because if these people are willing to try to kidnap her for this insane amount of money, who's wanting her kidnapped? Like there's so many different lanes and routes that are opening up now.
I mean, this could honestly be a permanent kind of job or desire for Rudy, is to not only be her tutor, but in the future like work for this family to protect her.
Going through the episode a little bit chronologically while I have the thoughts in my head, very interesting that Ghislaine and Eris cannot read. I also...
do you think it's a girl thing in this world, or is it just like Eris didn't feel the need or desire to learn? I mean, it threw me off because she's obviously a noble woman.
So my best, like where I'm sitting right now, is that Eris looks up to Ghislaine and focuses on the personality and physical like strength of
I like
aspects.
that.
And she also can't read, neither can
And it
Ghislaine.
seems like Ghislaine's the one person that Eris,
Yeah.
probably other than her father, that she's like really loves this person
That-
and doesn't like take
yeah,
out
exactly.
anger and violence on.
That's where
She
I'm at right
respects
now.
her. She
yeah.
like respects her. I mean,
And
she immediately ran up and was like, I mean, Rudy was like traumatized, and Eris was like, the person that I love, that I respect so much.
Yeah, but also Ghislaine wants to learn magic too from Rudy. Like I think that's awesome. That's so funny and awesome going forward. And I wonder if the lines of being able to perform magic will coincide with reading, because you need incantations to be able to use magic,
Yes.
and you need to be able to
I like
read from
that.
books to memorize incantations.
It's not brute strength anymore that like shows the most power and strength. It's the ability to not only have that physical prowess, but also have an intellectual prowess. You know, to have both of those together and to be strong at both sword and magic is like
well,
game changer.
That's the fucking cool thing that this show does not let you forget. When we were lost with Eris after we escaped, like Rudy is like putting forward to Eris, but to us as well, that there are real life intelligence advantages that one can have by knowing how to read, knowing how to do simple math, to be able to traverse this world and get home. Rudy hasn't been out exploring this world,
No.
but he can still use the skills that he has to constructively think and creatively think to get back to where he needs to be.
It's like the things that no normal 7-year-old is thinking that any of that stuff is important in life. But he has kind of the ability to call upon his world experience in his last life, where he knows what is in any society, in any place, what are some of the staples that are kind of important to learn in order to function as a society member.
Yeah.
Even if he neglected those in his past life.
I love this episode so much. So, do you think that we're going to be learning more and more about class systems as the show progresses? Because it seems like every beast person we saw in the story so far seems to be employed by, like, I wonder if there are different regions, and each region there is a different race of people. They have their
That
own
has
hierarchies.
kind of-
and then people can traverse elsewhere, you know, and work as
That's kind
underlings for other people, you know?
I'm gonna go with that
Yeah.
as my guess of how this world works, and not that over the whole entire globe the ruling class is the more humanoid of the
That's where I'm sitting too.
of the creatures. I think that we were told there was like a demon continent, which makes me think that there is probably some type of homeland for everyone.
Yeah. So Philip's our second
Paul
cousin?
Paul is his cousin.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes, the second cousin.
Yes.
But I thought that was an interesting relation. I thought that it was just going to end with the Ghislaine thing, but it makes more sense because if Ghislaine is like in the position of employment that she is, her word alone would not be enough to get a
Yeah.
person employed for a hefty sum of money.
In terms of financial, what I'm vibing out at the moment, what I'm feeling is that Paul's ties to his last name are probably not just his sword prowess, but probably his family name is why he is the knight in charge of a village. He probably got that station and got that job also because of some noble recommendation of being a somewhat, maybe somewhere else on the family tree, relative of a noble person. I thought that maybe it was just a testament to how amazing he is at the sword, but it seems like he probably isn't in comparative to like everyone else in this world. Like if you put him up against all the other sword users in this world, he's probably not coming out completely on top.
See, I don't know, because on one hand, I don't want to believe that because of how much I've built Paul up in my mind. That being said, what he said to Ghislaine about never being able to beat her in a sword fight.
Except in
Yeah.
fill in the blank.
I was like, okay, that's the first step to it. And then like learning more as we go through this episode, I'm like, I think Paul is very capable, but he's probably not the most skilled person in this entire universe.
I just think it probably helped because it's a very financially stable job and obviously a very safe village that has very little monster attacks and very little bandits and all that. So he's almost kind of like a lord in charge, a small lord in charge of a small plot of land in a way.
Yeah. I think that there is the potential, because it's not just Philip Greyrat, it's Philip Boreas Greyrat, right?
So maybe like the main family and Paul is somewhere on the side, and or Philip married into a rich family, noble family.
He's the mayor of this city. Interesting. I wonder if it's like a democratic election. Like maybe it isn't like a wealthy family kind of thing, and he only has these things because he was elected.
He was just awesome.
He seems like
this dude is awesome.
I immediately
his hair design is better than Paul's. I'm already gonna say that.
Debatable. I immediately compared him to Oikawa with like looks.
Just the way that he kind of smiled when he walked in the door. I understood.
He seems like he gives. If Oikawa grew up to be a politician, I would believe it. And I believe that this guy's a politician. Yeah.
He would be a politician. I can see that.
But so far, I love this episode. 5 years we're going to be spending here.
Oh my god.
That's a long time. I wonder if it's all going to be here. Maybe we do get a time skip. I don't know.
With the time skip, I don't think that's totally crazy, especially now that we're kind of in where I believe might be a more permanent setting.
Yeah.
Obviously we knew that we couldn't just stay at home forever, and we knew an adventure is out there, we knew that. But we both thought it was going to be more like, oh, the narrative is supposed to take place at university. But maybe that's like later on in the series. I can't get over her personality, Eris. At first was like, oh, am I gonna like this character if she's so violent? And then I was like, I love this character.
She's a great character. I like her. The just over the top best moments of this episode was the attention to detail and love I felt like put into it.
The shape of her eyebrows.
Yeah, that's true.
It's such a little thing to say, but it really does make her character design that much better. They're
cute.
More triangular and shorter, and it almost gives her like a permanent kind of sassy face, and I really adore it.
One thing, just going off the attention to detail bus, there was a line when we were still talking to Philip that Rudy had about not being able, not wanting to get his face beat in because then he couldn't mouth words, so he couldn't heal himself. And at first I was like, okay, is that just like a comedic line that means nothing for it? But I wrote down right when I got it, and I was like, so can he not cast healing without words? Mm-hmm. And then later on, he does seemingly use some type of verbal cantation to heal Eris. And I wonder if that is like I appreciate the payoff there slightly after it initially was said,
It seems like there's still, I think what it shows us is how much, yes, he was a prodigy and a genius, but there's still so much more for him to learn and so much more for him to grow. And I think it's great to have moments like that after the initial kind of last episode where he was like, why do I want to get better at magic? And then he had the letter from Roxy. And we know that he doesn't have to use, incantations for some things. But I like that it's not like he's overpowered and he doesn't have to use it at all ever.
Yeah.
So it did make me happy to hear that line. I believed it as probably truth. Healing magic could be harder and it could zap more of your personal energy because you're literally healing something.
Yeah.
And so that's a possibility that maybe it's just
Caravaggio was brought back to life.
I mean, it would just give more props to Zenith because she's a healer.
Yeah.
Or was really good at healing magic.
My hands down favorite moment of this entire episode was when Rudy was laying on the bed and said, I'm sick of getting beaten up like in my old life, closes his eyes, and then for half a second you hear the rain in the cars. It was just...
I should have said that when we were talking about all of the sound that was amazing.
It was so good.
That was one of the better examples.
So Rudy was offered, whether that offer was ever real or not, 100 gold pieces, or asura, right? Asura.
Do you really think that they would have actually given a 7-year-old these things?
Maybe. I don't know. Doesn't matter. But
they could have given him fake gold. and like and been like, oh yeah,
Yeah.
that's 100
But
gold pieces.
if we trust this untrustable,
if we trust these
if we
thieves
trust
and bandits and kidnappers,
if we trust this thief and kidnapper and scum of the earth, then we know for a fact that one person's enrollment into the university would probably be around like 8.5 gold pieces.
Mhm.
If he said that offered 100, 10 could
It's
get
like-
you in with some change. I'm gonna 8.5, 9 maybe. That's some good intel to have.
yeah.
You know.
I mean, and what concept of money does Rudy have? You know, obviously he had to ask. It's so nice because that was such a 7-year-old thing for Rudy to say, which is like, could that get me 2 memberships at the university? You know,
Yeah.
and I really love this kind of is the right word dichotomy? I don't know if it is, where these 2 kind of points of view inside of him, and sometimes he says things that sound like it's coming from the 40-year-old past life, and then a lot of times the things he's saying and thinking sound like a kid.
Yeah.
A kid that is naive and new and innocent, and it's so nice to have that kind of both point of view.
Not gonna lie, they did show me that they could very easily creep me the fuck out when it comes to Rudy.
Mm.
When the
So intentional. I love it.
when the caskets were opening and he had the inner monologue, and then you saw
The
Rudy's
laughing.
mouthing words, but it was the older voice actor of the old Rudy, right? The past life Rudy. I was like, fuck that. I don't
when
ever
he was
want to see that
laughing
again.
and it looked like from Eris's point of view, he was
Yeah.
laughing maniacally over her.
I was like, fuck that. I never want to see that again. Like, don't
Mhm.
remind me, you know?
But what made it I think what made that moment even better is that there was going to be an in-universe misunderstanding of this,
Mm.
which is something
Yeah.
that he had experienced from baby age and toddler age, is that he was doing these things and letting it show on his face and saying the things he was thinking out loud, and it was creeping people out. It was actually Lilia avoided him for the entirety of his young life
Yeah.
because she was creeped out by him. And I think that the more and more he's around people that aren't just his parents who are going to accept him no matter what, he's going to realize he can't just talk and think the way that he has been, because people are going to want to avoid him again.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to be bullied again. I think new Rudy wants to be liked and wants to have friends.
So, question for you. When we had the whole fight in the alley and Rudy decides not to take the 100 gold pieces, what percentage, whether it's 100% to 0%, whether it's 80 to 20, or 50-50, what percentage did he make his decision because it was the right move to do in a dating sim for a tsundere to like him? Or what percentage was it because he felt like it was the right thing to do, or he wanted to do it?
Oh my gosh, I don't know. That is such a great, okay, so when he brings up, at the very end, he brings up the points. He's like, I bet I got points for that last move. I play visual novel games, not very often, but I've played a few. Collar Malice is one of my favorites, Cupid's Parasite. And, they're fun stories. There's a bunch of bachelors, and when he says these things that call upon, picking options and giving specific gifts in order. I also play games like Stardew Valley, and, you have to give people a specific gift they like in order for them to like you. And it's common in a lot of more life sim
It's
games.
very common in
And
games in general.
In games in general. And it made me so... Oh, yeah, Fire Emblem Three Houses. It's in that, too. It's in the Fire Emblem franchise. I get so happy whenever he says things like that, because it's a callback to something that I know from my own kind of gaming experience. And I also find it to just be such an interesting idea if I'm thinking about Rudy as if he's a real person in this universe, and him thinking about people this way. I'm not walking around in real life thinking ooh, if I give Ben his favorite flavor chips, I'll get 5 points in favor, I'll get 5 hearts unlocked and unlock a cutscene after that.
Well, I think a lot of that is because of the lack of meta awareness in our life, right? Because it's not that simple.
Mm-hmm.
So in this life, it is that simple.
Mm-hmm.
So to go back to my question, what percentage do you think it is for Rudy and to save and go forward with his actions in Eris in that hallway? Do you think that he did that mainly because he knew it was the right thing to do so he'd get what he wanted in the end? Or do you think he did it so because he thought that it might be the right thing to do or felt like that's what he should do?
When he did it, I had genuine vibes in a way. I don't know why I've used vibes multiple times. That's a bad word choice. It's not the best word choice. I got the feeling that he was being really genuine, and I also felt like there was no way he was gonna take this offer anyway. But the percentage of was it truly him being a good person to was he thinking it would get him points? I am torn on like what that percentage would be because I'm sure it's almost like he wanted to do the good thing and he justified it to himself that he was doing it to get points. I think that might be where I'm going with it, is that his initial feeling was to do the right thing and that he wanted to save her, and then he almost twists things after he has good intentions and good feelings, and then he twists them. The feeling I'm getting, dude, is that he is almost is that self-sabotage? Is he sabotaging himself?
I don't know about sabotaging. I do think it might be intentionally ambiguous for us as the viewer to know where he actually is in that line, because we've seen so many different instances of Rudy being a morally bad or gray character in a lot of instances. So I think that we are supposed to fight with the idea of what he's feeling there, because it could totally be some sort of coping mechanism to, like, in Rudy's mind, from what we know, because we only have a very limited source of information, what we know, he is intellectually stunted in growth, and he has never had these emotions and feelings within his personal experiences in his personal life, like he had this episode with Eris. So I think that Rudy, whether they're real or not, I don't think it matters. Whether Rudy actually felt, even for 1% there, that he might want to do it because it's right, he can't escape the fact that he's used to that right answer being an answer to win in a video game or get what he wants in a video game. It's so...
Which is the same reason he wanted to get Sylphie to be able to go to school, because he was like, the character has told me that she will miss me if I leave town, so now I'm going to go and save money.
The potential
be a farmer.
The potential morality of Rudy is so fucked because it's so tethered to the idea of these games and visual novels that he's used to and he played, that it's hard to imagine the instances and experiences and time that he will have to overcome to be able to think of these things as a pure thing, or not even as a pure thing, as putting others first and not connecting it immediately to something like a point.
I think this episode could be an amazing point of transition.
Yeah.
Because he went from almost treating this world, the Second Life, as if a game in order to progress easily, quickly, and be successful. And then we have him face the reality that he can die in this life too, in this episode. And that is monumental and traumatic, what he just saw. Someone was decapitated in front of him and he was soaked in their blood. Like, there is no getting away from the reality of death, and that this isn't just some game for him to play and try to manipulate everybody's feelings so that they love him. Like, this, I think that this could be some amount of a transition, a point in time of him, maybe not treating this life as much of a game as he was before.
I think that you're right. And, like, it was almost like he was in that mindset of, okay, I'm doing this, but I'm justifying it, game, blah, 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 blood on my hands. I've completely snapped out of it. I have a perception or a point of view of, holy shit, what's after this life? I don't fucking know. It's fear, it's trauma. He had to deal with it again, and then his character decided to walk away from Eris after thinking to himself that was the end of the line. we had no inner monologue there to tell us that it was older Rudy thinking through that this walking away
That
from
it
the
would do
tsundere
something, yes.
would get him that point. He got the point after his trauma this episode, after the murder in front of him that we saw he was traumatized about, and then after he got it, referenced it as a point.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that could be like a punch to the huge gut of trying to be a better person or growing inevitably.
It fits with my thought that he feels like somewhat his old self is still clinging on and needs to justify any of his actions as, oh, but that'll get you a point, so that's good, you should do that. But it makes me think of some other shows we've seen where the moment characters stop trying to be manipulative and stop trying to get a result is the moment that things go better for them, and that almost their true self is let out. And the moment that they're distracted, like obviously here I think distraction is a great word, is in this moment he just saw and went through something very traumatic, and so his thoughts aren't focused, I'm thinking as he's walking away, aren't focused on kind of the results and, oh, if I walk the tactic, if I walk away right now, then she'll yell after me. And I feel that because of when they choose to place the voiceover and when they don't, that maybe this was actually the child Rudy that just went through something traumatic, and so he's not plotting in his head.
That's what I meant by, in the beginning of the discussion, I'm going to start giving this show a lot more credit than I like early on, because I feel like everything's so intentional and deliberate. Could be wrong. Could be, luck. I don't know. A coincidence.
It could be trying to make us think really deeply about something that isn't necessarily. It's like it could be just like a giant joke.
It could be.
Like it's trying to make you take this seriously. Rip the rug out from under us.
I do think if what this show is about Rudy's potential growth as a human being or as a living being, I think that maybe you'd be forced to someday deal with the morality of, if you have previous knowledge and more knowledge over everybody else, and you know that you can use that to get the better of them in every situation, if you have that knowledge and choose to do that, you've already fucked up. Mm-hmm. And would that come to the edge of Rudy being like, you can't just shut off the fact that you have knowledge of a previous life, but would it put Rudy to be in a position of, I won't use this for personal gain. I will only use this knowledge of a previous life to help other people. Mm-hmm. I feel like that would be the goal at the end of the day here.
He might just also need just a continuation of getting proven wrong in this action, that the response he thinks he should do in order to get the points or progress isn't actually because you can't just it's a real person. Real people aren't going to always respond the way that he's going to predict and that they are.
I agree, but I hope that it doesn't go that way, because I think that you could potentially, because I can be 100% wrong here, potentially do more with the growth of Rudy as a character if this world is so easily manipulated and so easy to win for him.
And he makes the conscious decision.
Exactly.
To, okay.
I think that would probably be easier for me to digest in the realm of redeeming a character.
Losing out all the time and being like, oh, rats, to get blasted off in the sky like Team Rocket every episode.
Yeah, I think it could be rewarding and funny sometimes to see his expectation of knowing what's going to happen being, subverted. But going forward, I think that it could be cool.
I think
for him as a character.
I like where you're going with it's better in terms of actual true growth that you make the conscious decision for yourself.
So good. I like that.
This is a great episode.
Yeah. Do you have anything else?
Fireworks, because it's on the screen right now. I loved that he chose the call people's attention method here. I think that was very smart and quick thinking, and it also kind of fits with his age in this universe to choose to call for help and alert people to what is going on. And I thought it was just a very smart move. It distracts the enemy for a few seconds, and it also has the chance that someone else is going to come help you. And I thought it was really pretty, and I loved Eris's reaction to the fireworks.
Yeah, it was awesome. It's like this character who is doing like a badass thing, but then it's like kind of like fun, like humorously like ruined by like like interjection, like him saying "dare" out loud.
Yeah.
It's so good.
It's badass, but it's also like, I'm calling for reinforcements.
Exactly,
which
yeah.
isn't badass, you know?
It's so good.
If he was like, oh, maybe I'll win her heart by completely annihilating all these thieves all on my own. He's like, I'm gonna call for help.
This show is like, I don't think I've ever watched a show that I've been this enamored by like magic and watching the fight scenes and choreography with, and we haven't even really gotten magic versus magic yet, which I hope one day we get, because like we
can build walls.
It's so fun to watch Rudy use all this to his advantage, and I was so worried that if he was so overpowered, it was just going to be like him being the Avatar and having all the elements, right? But no. He is getting challenged, was about to die, while he's using all this, like, fucking amazing magic. It's so fun to watch.
We wondered what the severity, kind of life and death and injury was going to be in this universe, specifically with Caravaggio and him getting healed. We were like, oh, is healing magic just so, powerful that, like, there's actually going to be no chance of serious injury and death? Rudy... He heals Eris, but he doesn't heal her all the way. And I believe he says it's because she might shout again, but I don't know if I necessarily believe that. Like, why isn't he healing her all the way? Is it a ploy? Was it a ploy that she still would need to follow him and need his help because she wasn't completely strong yet? Was it to make sure she didn't try to fight the thieves again?
Yeah.
There probably was some thought there with him for that. But I was still thinking that healing, could, fix all problems. And here we get Ghislaine, like, decapitating people. And I'm like, there's no way that they're getting healed. And that Rudy has now faced this...
Death.
If you were in a world, a universe that had healing magic, and you were a child, I don't think you would really think about, like, severity of injury. You'd go out and you'd scrape your knee and you'd come home and mom would heal it for you, or dad would heal it for you, and then you'd go back out and fall out of a tree.
And to see the line that can be met that's like, okay, it's permanent in a sense. Yeah, it's a shock that we
It's probably
saw
like
on his
when
face.
Kids have their first like broken bone is probably when they like realize that roughhousing or doing dangerous stunts could actually get you like really hurt, and mom and dad can't just like put a Band-Aid on it and make you and kiss it and it'll makes it all better. And Rudy kind of has that moment where he realizes that like, yes, there's healing magic and there's really cool things in this world, but I can also die. And that is my parting thought.
My last thing I want to do is go through a little bit of the Ghislaine scene, because I like, we've talked about it in the discussion already, how great the, sound design, animation, direction, storyboarding is. It is great. But like, there was something so special about this scene that I was worried that because of everything else excelling so well, that we wouldn't get moments of just like really creative, cool, great animation. And Ghislaine, like, we were following her head and we're going over the buildings, looking down on the situation with Eris and Rudy. And you just see like for a frame, a blip before the sword gets destroyed. Her landing's great. There's this like
rainbow tunnel vision.
Yeah, like, it's like a rainbow like sonar coming at the screen. It shuts down. Everything goes inverted, monotone. The bad guys have like a light blue outline on them, and fucking Ghislaine is just red outline. And then the best part of it is after like she flashes for like a second from red to white and then black to back to red. And then the best part of it is when the whole world regains color.
It comes back at her.
Yeah, through the alleyway. It is so freaking cool. Good. I love it so much. She
is awesome.
Yeah. And I during the reaction didn't get a chance to finish the thought. I was like, is her sword red, or is it just red because of all the fucking blood that it has on it right now?
Oh, that is a place to go that could totally be right. Oh my god, I didn't even think about that.
It was so good though. Great episode. Favorite episode of the series so far.
This was a great episode.
You good? Cool. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and we hope to see you next time.